Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 8th episode of ZRJRO's Super Subjective Podcast. I am your host, ZRJRO, and it is a very special episode today. I am attending a screening of the movie Game Night, produced by Warner Brothers, and I have a very special guest with me who knows Warner Brothers very well. You might know him as future XM Warrior. You might know him as Andre, but we'll call him Andre Francisco because that's what he goes by. Andre, how are you doing this fine afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I want to thank you for inviting me out to the screening. I know we've been trying to meet each other for a long time. So before we go to the screening, I wanted to talk to you about our mutual love for DC Comics. You are one of the biggest DC fans I know. I'm sure there are bigger ones out there, but I haven't met them in person, at least not in a while. So I just want to come out here and ask you a couple of questions while we're waiting in line to see this movie. I just got to know, man. I think the first question that comes to mind, and maybe some other people's mind, is like, what was the first comic? What was the first DC-related media that really got you into DC Comics?
Oh, it has to be Superman 78. That's literally the very first movie I saw as a child, Superman 78. And then when I saw that movie, I was a kid, but I was like, wow, I want to do that. I want to fly like that. I want to be Superman. So that is literally the first thing that got me into DC Comics. Then later, when I was like a little bit older, 11, 12, my father used to buy me a lot of Batman comics and stuff like that. And so that got me hooked on Batman and Superman. And I became obsessed with DC ever since.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, man, Superman 78's a really good movie. I cannot wait. I have not seen the director's cut that just came out.
You haven't seen it?
I want to. I'm planning to see it very soon. I've been very busy. I've been traveling between New York and California and Oregon, so I've been really busy seeing a lot of movies in theaters. Last movie I saw in theaters, I believe, was Last Jedi. I'm not sure. But it's been a while for me. No, I saw the Jumanji movie. That's the last movie. I saw it in Portland. That's right. So I've been really busy. But yeah, I feel you, man. Like my love for comic books, it started with the X-Men. When I first saw the first X-Men movie, and because here's the thing. My two biggest superhero shows as a kid: Batman the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series.
Those are both classic, yeah.
They are, and the one series I couldn't quite get into was the X-Men Animated Series show because, in fact, with my 5-year-old brain process, I thought Wolverine was called X-Man. I thought the show was called X-Man. I thought he was called X-Man. So I was really, when I was dressing up as Halloween, I thought I was dressing up as X-Man, not Wolverine.
Yeah.
So when the X-Men movie came out in 2000, and the X-Men Evolution show came out, I started reading Jim Lee's stuff. I started, and then I think when the Teen Titans show came out, that's where it reinvigorated my love for DC, and I started buying some of the post-graduation day comic books, after they became Young Justice, and the Titans became, some of the members became outsiders. That's when I really started getting the DC around.
And all them,
and Shift and all those guys and Arsenal. And that's when I really got into DC, and I started, watching the Titans show, watched Justice League Unlimited. I mean, I still watch, Batman, Superman cartoons from time to time, but I haven't read any of the comics. So that's when I became a comic book fan, around when I was 12 or 13. Yeah. And so we've been, as a lot of people know, you're not a big fan of the Nolan Batman trilogy. Now, I got to know, what was your first reaction to the trailers of Batman Begins? Were you initially hating the movie?
First of the trailer, it was just total apathy. It was that's it. And that was my initial. I was like, wow, I thought it would be kind of more on a grander scale. So I just thought, I think something Kevin Smith said, I don't know if he was trying to be polite by saying this. He was saying that he saw Batman Begins and he thought, well, that's earnest. Earnest is a way of putting it, but I thought it would have been, when I saw the trailer, I was like,
But for the longest time, I preferred Batman Begins to The Dark Knight. And for this,
I'll say that Batman, even though I don't care for any of the trilogy, Batman Begins is the only one where Gotham City actually looked like Gotham City.
It felt more like the comics.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think because of my love for the comic books, I think I didn't appreciate the Nolan films that way because they didn't feel like the comic books.
Yeah.
I mean, like as a cinephile, I think I appreciated them as a moviegoer, and but I mean, I think when I started reading more comics and I started, you know, appreciating more of a comic thing, I think that's when Watchmen came out. I think in a lot of ways, Watchmen is a better movie than The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Because I think a lot of my friends didn't get Watchmen. I mean, and here's the thing: I tried reading the comic. I really tried. I even watched
It
them.
was hard. I read it too, but it's like, I mean, Zack Snyder, he basically put it on film, but for some reason, I don't know, seeing it on film is easier to swallow. And I mean, I read the comics, but it's kind of a chore to read them, even though I have read
Yeah,
them. Yeah,
exactly. I even watched the stop motion movie.
yeah.
I mean, the movie, I think it just made more sense to me.
Yeah.
I think the direction the movie went, that Zack Snyder took the Watchmen film, I think it made sense. It's kind of funny, we're talking about Watchmen here in New York City.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's when I really grew to like Zack Snyder. I've only seen 300. I've only seen Watchmen. I've only seen Man of Steel. I've seen BVS Justice League. I haven't seen Sucker Punch. I heard it's not very good.
No, you know what? I had the weirdest reaction to Sucker Punch because for some reason, I guess maybe I missed out. I missed out on all the marketing. I didn't even know it was a Zack Snyder film, and I went and seen it, and I didn't like it. But later, I actually love it now. Seeing it like more than once, I didn't like it the first time I saw it.
You know the irony of Zack Snyder's slow motion? Only 300 Watchmen come to mind when it comes to his slow motion cliche, I guess you could say.
I don't mind the slow motion thing.
Yeah, I think it's a cool trademark. I mean, hey, if the Matrix could get away with it, I mean,
Come
Zack.
on, look at the first time they did slow mo in The Last Jedi. Come on, when Luke was dodging the lightsaber, I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, I think they might have been ripping off the Matrix.
yeah, exactly.
Then, to be fair, I think a lot of movies in the early 2000s were ripping off the Matrix, whether it be Shrek or one of my favorite guilty pleasures, Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So okay, moving forward, one thing I really want to talk to you about is the DC Extended Universe, because that's a move. Those are franchises we're both very passionate about. We're both huge defenders of. I gotta know, because you hated the Nolan trilogy, when you found out Nolan was involved with Man of Steel, were you worried?
Yeah, I was worried until I actually saw the movie, because then it didn't feel anything like a Chris Nolan. I don't understand people trying to say that Man of Steel felt nothing like a Chris Nolan movie, because he doesn't do good action like that. Everything is slow roll. You know what? Kind of like Gareth Edwards. That Godzilla was garbage. How do you waste 60 minutes to introduce Godzilla? I mean, why are you waiting that long?
I've not been a fan of Rogue One then, because he directed that.
I just thought it was okay.
Yeah, I really liked it at first, and I think it hasn't really grown on me the same way.
Like you forget about it after you see.
Yeah, now going back to Man, it's funny. One of the biggest detractors of the DCU is nostalgia critic Doug Walker.
Oh, God,
Yeah, and one of the things he said about it's ironic. You might not agree with him. He made an anecdote called the Nolan Ray, like when some scenes in Man of Steel where the characters showed exposition, that's more Nolan stuff than Snyder's stuff. Now, did you have an issue with the quote unquote Nolan Ray with some of those scenes where the characters showed automatic auto response, I guess, as Patch Adam would say?
I didn't see. I don't understand when people say it. I didn't see any Nolan Ray thing in any of Snyder's movies. I mean, I think Snyder, he always puts depth in a lot of his movies, and he puts a lot of action. Some people try to unfairly compare him with Michael Bay, but the thing is, Michael Bay is like a lot of action and no depth. Zack Snyder has a lot of action and depth all in it as well.
I don't know if this is a subconscious thing or people aren't factoring it, but I think the comparisons come from the fact that both Bay and Snyder went to the same film school.
Yeah, together. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think because people either are unaware or aware of that, they're gonna kind of notice some similarities. I haven't seen outside of maybe explosions and maybe some weird sexy shots of skirt shots or whatever. I haven't, and men's shots. I don't know. I haven't seen any big comparisons between the two directors. Now I'm hearing rumors that Michael Bay is going to be doing a Lobo movie. That might be good.
I think he fits that. I think he fits that completely, because that character is basically he's a lesson in excess. He's over the top, curses like a sailor. You know, has sex with alien girls. There's corny jokes. So Michael Bay actually fits that character.
It would be, in a lot of ways, it would be like a very anti-Deadpool slash anti-Guardians of the Galaxy.
Pretty much, yeah. I think that character is completely up his alley and stuff. Because
Now,
that character you can't do a Nolan. That would be stupid. If you did.
now speaking of, I kind of segued into Marvel a little bit. Speaking of Marvel, I know you've been very negative towards the MCU, and you said the last good MCU movie was The Incredible Hulk. Honestly, the last movie I loved was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. I haven't, the rest after that have just been kind of okay for me.
I think those movies, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, are the only two movies that actually look visually separate from the entire MCU. They don't even look like they connected to the
It kind of makes me frustrated that the Daredevil Netflix show is like, if it is connected to the Guardians of the Galaxy, that kind of pisses me off because I don't, because I don't want there to be kind of like a tonal difference. I don't in the same universe, because it frustrates me.
because Daredevil series is so gritty and that's so like outer space stuff.
Yeah. I haven't seen the last two MCU movies. I still haven't seen Thor Ragnarok yet. I still haven't seen Black Panther. And I know you have no desire to see Black Panther, but if you ever,
I already saw it.
oh, you saw it. And you thought it was okay? You thought it was mediocre?
I thought it was okay. It was I think the good things about it is that you see a side that you never saw in superhero movies before, like the culture, the African. But then there was a side that I felt like the plot just felt like Fast and the Furious to me and shit like that. I mean,
I can see. I think some of the trailers actually did remind me of like some Fast and the Furious shots of them jumping on cars and.
no, and the scene like where you see the person doing the tech and everything like that, and while somebody's like talking to somebody on a car exploding and flipping it, that felt a little bit Fast and the Furious to me. I think.
Yeah, no, I could see the comparison easily. So yeah, I am. My mom and I are definitely planning on seeing Black Panther before I leave. Whether it be, I'm leaving next Wednesday back to California. What made me really curious is that it got an A+ cinema score, which is only the second superhero movie to do that. And
I think did it? No, I forgot. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Man of Steel got one too. Right?
it got an A-.
A minus. Oh, A
which is still pretty good. I mean, because there are a lot of really, like Logan got an A-. So
yeah.
So so I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't like Logan. I mean, I've heard people not like Man of Steel.
You know what? That's a movie that had another weird effect on me. I loved Logan when I saw it, but it's like I stopped caring after.
I kind of get what you're saying, because the second viewing, I didn't love it quite as much because we already know the ending. We kind of already seen the structure of how it. Because how many times are you gonna want to see? Spoilers here. Logan passed away. How many times are you gonna want to see that? Kind of gets repetitive. Like, I think the difference between seeing Superman's death in Batman versus Superman, we know he's coming back. I mean, that's not to say that Hugh Jackman's character couldn't come back either, but he seems pretty set. He seems gung ho on. He's done. He hung up the claws.
Yeah.
They're gonna recast.
He claims that he would come back if he was put in the MCU, but I don't even know how that would.
I don't think so. And here's the thing: the Fox Disney deal, that's not going to be for another two. It's not going to be finalized for at least another 2 years. So we're going to still see Deadpool 2 be a pure Fox movie. We're going to see Days of Future Past and New Mutants, which was delayed another year.
Yeah.
Those are all still going to be pure Marvel Fox movies, which I do prefer over the MCU overall.
I think those are better, yeah.
I mean, personally, my favorite MCU movie is The Winter Soldier, and you've explained that it kind of feels like
an old nice Captain America.
Yeah, or a espionage ripoff, like it feels unoriginal in the premise it's trying to do.
Yeah, but that's what I notice a lot about the Marvel directors. I keep hearing them say, "Oh, I'm making this movie like such and such movie." Why are you mentioning every other? Avengers: Infinity War is gonna be like The Godfather. Captain America: Winter Soldier is gonna be like French Connection. Why are you trying to make?
Yeah,
it like
it's a hyperbole.
Yeah, they keep on referencing other movies. Like, really, Avengers comparing it to Godfather? I'm like,
It's really it's not just apples and oranges. It's like apples and avocado.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I want to get into kind of like a more personal. Like when I first found out about you, I think it was the Captain America Thursday Night Preview short where you were like, Karma's a B, Marvel. Karma.
yeah.
That's the first video I saw of you. Because here's the thing, I was going through a really like rough time, like seeing all the critical reviews. I was like so angry at Rotten Tomatoes, I couldn't get any sleep over the.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, when the reviews for Batman v Superman came out, I was
yeah.
so. Then seeing your video really lifted my spirits. Like even though Civil War went on to make more money, it lifted my spirits because I needed that kind of reaction from somebody. Like, because people were being such annoying trolls. Like, I'll be honest. In a lot of ways, I'm thin-skinned. I'm very sensitive, and whenever I see somebody on a comment goer saying like, "Oh, DCU was shit," they should.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you handle that? Like, how do you do that without getting angry?
It's kind of hard. It gets me pissed off because you know what? It gets me pissed because somebody, John Cleese said something the other day about critics. He was trashing critics, and John Cleese said, "It's fine if you don't like a movie. That's your prerogative. But to just randomly say a movie is shit, I'm like, you sound like an ignorant prick." I'm like, seriously? Like, but the thing is hilarious to me. Then they get pissed off when you trash MCU movies, but the MCU movies are overrated as shit. I'm sorry, they put them up too much of a high thing. They're not that great.
And didn't John Cleese also say, like, if a critic, how would you feel, critic, if you were in a filmmaker's shoe and you were the one making the movie?
Exactly, but critics, their job is to not have a job. It's like they can't direct, but they're experts on how to fucking make a movie.
One of my favorite scenes.
Not make a movie, but you can say what goes into making a movie well.
One of my favorite scenes in the film Birdman is that scene where Michael Keaton's character talked to that stage critic, where he talks about how it's his blood, sweat, and tears, like what I go through to make this, and you're just willing to tear my play apart. And then she like says very callously, "I'm going to ruin your play," and I feel like that's true.
That's an example of how RT is and everything like.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember like 2 years ago, like one of my friends, like who like got a film degree and said like. I agree with 70% of those critics because I'll tell you this, I trust critics. I respect the critic's opinion and trust critics' opinion the same way I would respect the doctor's opinion. And I find that hilarious because there's been doctors that have misdiagnosed me a number of times. Yeah. Critics are the same way. They've been wrong about movies before. The Shining, Blade Runner, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think what other movies can you think of that?
How did they gave Shining a Razzie, and that's considered a classic.
Yeah.
Really
yeah, you know what? It's funny, and that's another thing about the Razzies is some people still use the Razzies as a reference to how people reacted to Batman v Superman, which
stupid to me.
It's stupid, and and I'm like this guy. Remember that guy told me about Leon Thomas who said Justice League was really bad?
Yeah.
He said he loved Mother and will think it's an underrated masterpiece.
That piece of garbage.
Yeah. And guess what, mother effer? That got nominated for Razzies too. So
that movie was the worst piece of garbage. I mean,
I had no desire to.
I couldn't finish it because it was just too. I think I understand what it was trying to do that movie, but it was fucking gross. I'm like, really? I don't need to see a live baby being eaten.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Exactly. That's why I when I found out about certain scenes in Freddy Got Fingered. Like, I know people like to see Freddy Got Fingered as like a neo-surreal film, but when I see him like biting the umbilical cord of a baby and swinging it around, like that's just not pleasant to look at. Like, it's something. That's why I stopped watching Family Guy for the longest time because like
they went overboard a lot.
It wasn't. I could forgive them if they were funny because South Park goes over the top too, but they get away with it because they're actually fun. It's just in my opinion. I mean, listen, it's. I know you don't like this word, but it's subjective, but. And here's the thing, it's not a dirty word. I think the thing about the word, as well, it's how you use the word. Like, for example, like, if my opinions matter, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
So if you have a different opinion than me, like, why should I care? Because all I care about is my opinions.
Yeah.
Like, your opinions are what your opinions are, but, whether that you like the movie or don't like the movie. But I think the mentality we need to have is, who cares what you think? I'm focusing on what I think.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the toxic, the way the trolls are today is like they're in some kind of delusion. Like if you don't like or cocksuck what they like, they're like, no, no, you can't be serious. I'm like, yes, I am serious. Screw off. I'm like, like what? They have the sheep hive mind mentality, Borg mentality, and stuff like that.
Sorry, folks. A truck went by. I've only done a podcast outside once. In the future, I'll do it inside.
Borg hive mind sheep mentality.
Yeah, which Whoopi Goldberg said on the View. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And now let's I think what we want to talk. I think one person. I used to, like around the same time. It's funny. I discovered you around the same time I discovered both Grace Randolph and John Campea,
Yeah.
and. I agreed with Grace for the first few months, but then she kind of
Grace, I don't get her. She's the most.
and she lives here in New York too.
I know she's the most bipolar. I don't even know what to call her. Every day is a different opinion.
I think when she gets really
First she says something is great. The next day she'll trash it. I'm like, what the hell?
I
What
think
is
she just
up with
I
her?
think she just states the fact. I mean she tries to beat around the bush, but I think the facts like suck her up so much that
I've never seen a bipolar person in my life. Every day is a different.
well
opinion.
maybe John Campea.
Oh yeah, him too. Oh god.
I actually asked him a question today. I asked him, okay, wait a minute. What if Justice League broke like records with the Blu-ray sales? Do you think they still need to reboot? And then he said, yeah, and he explained why. I don't agree with it either. Don't worry. He basically explained, like the fact that Black Panther made more money opening weekend than Justice League entire domestic run. That says a lot about how the public is perceiving, and it doesn't matter how much, because the studio only gets a small percentage of the Blu-ray sales anyway.
You know why? I would say Campea, I call bullshit because Batman Begins, guess what? It didn't do good at the box office. And the only reason they made Dark Knight, because they were waiting on the Blu-ray sales of Batman Begins. And if the Blu-ray sales of Batman Begins flopped, they would have never made Dark Knight. So that's bullshit.
And Austin Powers. And I don't
Austin
know.
Powers flopped, but they made 2 and 3 because it did good on DVD and Blu-ray. Even
At
though
the time it was VHS. So.
the first one flopped, but they still made 2 and 3 because the VHS and DVD sales skyrocketed. So now they count on the DVD sales.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if a movie flops; it still has a chance to in the DVD Blu-ray market.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not
And
like 1995 anymore. It's like it's different.
yeah,
Like
it's not just VHS and Laserdisc.
Yeah.
We have DVD, we have Blu-ray, we have streaming.
But they're so stupid because look at people talk all that shit, but Justice League made more than Dunkirk. Dunkirk made like 525 million. Justice League made 657 million. So that's a Nolan film, and it made less than Justice League.
Yeah, I think people. I mean, let's just forget about what Justice League should have made. I agree, Justice League should have made more. But you know how many movies come out a year and don't even cross 100 million worldwide?
Exactly. This is 600 something million, and you're gonna say, come on, man.
Yeah, I listen. I will. The only way I think I would eat crow is if Aquaman makes less than Green Lantern. Maybe then I'll have to like.
That's the only barometer because I actually like Green Lantern, but I was upset.
I liked it too.
I was upset that it did that low, but Justice League made way more than any of those movies. Green Lantern, any of those movies.
I couldn't really comprehend why it was bad when I first saw it in theaters. I actually took my father.
Green Lantern?
Yeah, I took my father on Father's Day to go see it, and I walked out liking it. Then I hear like all the negative stuff people were saying about it. I'm like, I thought it was pretty good.
To me, it adds up to being like people who don't read the comics. Because if you read the comics, and you saw the Ryan Reynolds movie, that was a pretty satisfactory origin story. Like, Hal Jordan was like that. That's how it went down in the comics. But people saying that the movie should have came out in the 90s instead of the 2011. But for origin, it was satisfactory.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it recently. I mean, I think one thing I can say is the special effects don't hold up as well today as it did back in 2011 or whenever. But I still think it's an enjoyable movie. You know what's even funnier is even though Linkar doesn't like any of the DC movies outside of Wonder Woman, he actually liked Green Lantern.
He did. Yeah,
He thinks Green Lantern's a better movie than Man of Steel.
that's BS. I like Green Lantern, but it's not better than Man of Steel. Bro.
Yeah, no, Man of Steel. This is the opposite of Man of Steel. Man of Steel actually got better with age.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing I noticed about the DCU movies. The DCU movies, I could see them on repeat. Like the Marvel movies, I don't care. I just like whatever. Like the DC movies, I see them multiple times.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna buy Justice League on Blu-ray twice. I have the Steelbook.
Yeah, me too. I got that one too, the pre-order.
Yeah, I got the Jim Lee one at Best Buy, and then at Walmart. I still haven't pre-ordered the one at Walmart. When I go back, I'm gonna pre-order it.
Yeah, I got that one too. The pins. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jim Lee artwork one I got.
That one I ordered too.
And that, but I'm going to get the pin one.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to getting it because they're gonna. Apparently, I don't know what kind of behind-the-scenes stuff's going on. Now, what do you think of fans? There seems to be a lot of debate online whether, there should be if a Snyder cut exists or not. Now, what do you think of this this urban myth, or if it's real? What do you think of this rumor of there being a Snyder cut like in the Warner Brothers vault?
I think it should come out. I hope it comes out, but I'm afraid if it does, it's not going to be anytime soon. Because look at what happened to Richard Donner. Look, come on, like all these years now, 30 years later, they're coming out with Superman the extended cut.
Yeah, and look at Superman the movie came out in '78. Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary, and the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 came out in 2006. That got a limited release.
Oh, I didn't know that they did. They got a limited
Yeah,
release.
it was like in private screen. It was like the Ultimate Edition, and Batman Superman got like limited release.
I really hope they do it sooner, but I'm afraid they might do that because they fear like whatever cut he did might contradict what they're trying to do with the universe. Where they're trying to go.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man. Like for me personally, this is how I see it. Like for me, if they had to reboot, my philosophy is use like Flashpoint, and don't do it like Amazing Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man Homecoming. Because it's because they had the MCU. It basically piggybacked off the success of the MCU. DCU doesn't have that. They gotta find their own creative way. X-Men was kind of able to refresh their universe with Days of Future Past. So I think DC can do something similar with that with Flash, whether it be Flashpoint, Zero Hour, Crisis on Infinite Earths. If they make a movie where they kind of revamp the cinematic universe, kind of like how they do in the comics, and it's worked well in the comics. I mean, and it's proven to work well with the movies because a lot of people like Days of Future Past. I think it's the best X-Men movie, like not solo movie, but X-Men movie. So I think it's possible. I mean, Flashpoint could be like I talked to my friend about this the other day. Maybe they can change some things in Flashpoint.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I'm a little conflicted about because I like the Flashpoint comic and I like the animated movie, but I'm conflicted if it will work as a live-action movie 100%, adapting it 100%.
Well, the director, remember you told me this before. The director of this movie we're seeing now is going to direct Flashpoint. So maybe when we see this movie, maybe we'll get an idea of what kind of style.
Yeah, because he said that the game night he wanted an opportunity to direct a movie that's really dark, that has comedy, that that he never did, like a thriller action with comedy, that he never got a chance to do that with a thriller type, like kind of like Clue, that movie Clue.
Yeah, no, I exactly like Clue. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. I've never really been a fan of these game movie thrillers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of ironic because I kind of think Saw is kind of like the personification of
pretty much,
of life or death games. And I guess Hunger Games and Battle Royale is kind of like that too.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna wrap this up here pretty soon. I'm just gonna ask you like 2 more questions, and then we'll go enjoy the movie, and we'll give our thoughts on the movie later on. My final question, I haven't really had a well-known guest on of such caliber as yourself, so I gotta know what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? You're a very polarizing figure online, so I gotta know, does that satisfy? You're kind of like DCU's polarizing.
I was gonna think DCU's Zack Snyder, but see, I don't mind that just because, like I said, I gotta be true to myself and I gotta be true to the facts. I can't stand bandwagon jumpers, and I can't stand people who just try to get by appeasing to something, even though they themselves might like something, but they'll just go along to get along because they don't want, anything, they want everything to be smooth. I hate ass kissers and phony people, so I just want to be known as just being true to myself, a DC fan all the way. Never, like I said, Rorschach said, never compromise in the face of Armageddon.
Very well spoken, man. True words couldn't have been said better myself. Andre, I gotta say it's been a real thrill talking to you and meeting you. A lot of people in DC groups. You know, they've talked to you. You're good friends with like some guys. Shout out Sabian.
Oh yeah, Sabian, what's up?
And I guess my final question is this: like, how would you write the end of the DC extended universe?
Oh, you know what's funny, man? Oh my God, you asking me that, and I've actually thought about that like 1,000 times, and that is a hard one.
Another load of questions.
Yeah, I would think how would I wouldn't. I actually wouldn't want to end it, but I guess do a Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes, yes. Or Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean the CW one was kind of, I don't know. You know what?
I still haven't seen that one.
It's laughable because, of course, the idiot Marvel tards say that those episodes are better than just like, please stop.
You know what's funny? John Campea said Crisis on Earth X was better than the entire Defenders series.
Oh, I still haven't seen Defenders, so I don't.
I only seen the first 5 episodes.
Oh.
It's all right.
It is?
It's all right.
Yeah.
All right. It's better than the MCU movies.
Yeah. But to me, it's like that's what a lot of MCU movies feel like. They feel like overlong TV episodes, and that's the difference. I think DC movies feel like movies, and a lot of Marvel movies feel like 2-hour TV episodes.
Yeah, I know. I think that's kind of like why they get so much good reviews, because critics kind of watch them as episodic, and they don't. And with the DCU, they kind of feel like maybe they feel it's out of place, even though we fans totally like configured point A to point B.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think like a Crisis on Infinite Crisis movie would be a good way to end it. Maybe how I would do it is if they still haven't introduced Darkseid, or if they did by that after, like long after. Like how I would do it is I would definitely do a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, but instead of you know, like the new, like the old, like you know, the new, like I would introduce the new Earth of the character, like that could be the reboot of the new characters they're meeting, interacting with the you know, the Bill, Gadot, Affleck, and you know, and then we kind of, and then they end up in their they say good, we say like a long felt goodbye, like the old fans can say goodbye and the new fans, or even I hate to say this, even the haters will be like, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, and they can be like, oh, we got this new, like I feel like everybody gets what they wanted, and I think if everybody gets what they want out of DC, that's good for Warner Brothers, that's good for DC, that's good for the fan community, and you know, the bloggers can shut the hell up, and that's like an ideal Shangri-La for.
I feel like I have to say this to WB. You open so much stuff. Don't leave stuff hanging. You left, you know, with Steppenwolf saying Darkseid. Please follow up on that. Don't just forget about it. You showed Jason Todd's Robin costume in Batman vs Superman. Don't just forget about. Follow up. And even in Suicide Squad, if you watch it again, I was watching it again. They say that Harley Quinn helped Joker kill the second Robin. It pops up on screen. He says she was accomplice to the murder of the second Robin. So don't just have things and then forget about.
Don't forget Warner Brothers. It's in your anthem. You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh.
You notice that song? You know that song played in the intro to Superman Returns?
Oh, I forgot it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fundamental things apply as time goes by. Yeah, I actually made a post about that. How people like should not turn on Warner Brothers. They're a great studio. I would never want to see DC in any other studio, especially Disney.
Oh God, no, hell no.
You know, and yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, Warner Brothers. Listen, we have a lot of faith in you. Even if there's people out there who don't, we're going to defend. We're going till the end, till the end.
Yeah, like I said, I always defend WBDC. As long as they don't bring Chris Nolan back, I always defend them.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I mean, if he's still with Warner, Dunkirk was a Warner Brothers film, but Nolan's done with DC. He's not coming back.
Yeah, thank God.
Yes, yeah. We're those violinists on the Titanic. We'll sing if the ship sinks, we're singing with you.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So thank you again, Andre, on this lovely New York afternoon. Or almost evening now. It's been a pleasure. This is ZRJro signing out. Thanks you for all of you for listening in. Keep watching keep supporting the DCEU. Keep being a true blue comic book fan. Be true to yourself. Don't be a bandwagon rider. If you like a movie, even if nobody else does, that's fine. If you don't like a movie, even though everybody else does, that's fine too. Don't go against the grain. Be original. Be unique.
Exactly. That's what I love about DCU. They don't bandwagon. They're just themselves.
Will you do your DC out?
Oh yeah, DC out, DC for life, baby.